Snow fell silently across the Wyoming plains, turning the world into a white desert where even voices seemed to freeze before reaching the air, and inside that lonely wilderness stood a wooden cabin, the home of a cowboy the nearby townsfolk called Calder Hayes, a man who preferred silence over company, and solitude over the chaos of men. 2 years ago, tragedy had burnt his world to ash, leaving him with nothing but a horse, a revolver, and a heart too wounded to feel anything but emptiness. As the wind howled against the cabin walls that evening, Calder opened the door only because his horse had begun to snort nervously, as if sensing shadows approaching through the snow. And then he saw them. 3 figures stumbling toward his porch, an elderly Apache woman wrapped in a worn, brown blanket, and beside her 2 young women, identical as mirrors, with long black braids, turquoise necklaces, and clothes made from buckskin. Their skin was flushed from the cold, their lips trembling, but their eyes carried a fire no blizzard could kill. For a moment, Calder froze, his hand instinctively drifting toward the revolver at his hip, not out of hostility but habit, because in these lands, no stranger ever came without danger following behind. But the old woman lifted her chin, looked him directly in the eye, and spoke words so soft yet so sharp they cut through the storm. "No one gives us shelter." Her voice cracked, not from weakness, but from carrying years of pain that had never been allowed to rest. Calder's jaw tightened. The world had taught him to turn away, to stay silent, to avoid other people's trouble. But something in the old woman's gaze, strength mixed with desperation, made his heart shift in his chest. The twins stood straight despite shivering, each gripping the other's hand as though refusing to fall. Calder cleared his throat, the first sound he had made to another person in weeks, and quietly said, "What happened?" The older daughter stepped forward, her braid heavy with snow. "White River men, they burned our winter lodge. They said our land was theirs now, said we had no place in the valley. We ran. Everyone scattered. They shot anyone who resisted." Calder's stomach tightened, he knew those men. The White River crew was a group of violent ranch hands who believed force gave them ownership of land, livestock, and even people. He had clashed with them before, and they hated him for it. "We walked for 3 days, the younger daughter whispered, voice barely holding together. "Mother said we must find the cowboy who lives where the mountain bends. She said he has an honest soul." Calder's eyes flicked to the old woman. She didn't move, didn't blink, just stared, as if weighing his spirit against the wind. It made him feel exposed in a way bullets never could. "Why me?" he murmured. The old woman finally spoke again. "Because even a wounded wolf protects its den." And those words struck him, hard, because they felt like she had reached inside his chest and touched the scar he spent years hiding. Calder stepped aside, pushing the door wider. "Come in." The twins exchanged a terrified, hopeful glance before helping their mother up the steps. Inside the cabin, Calder lit the fire, watching the flames chase away the cold that clung to their bodies. He gave them blankets, warm broth, and a place to sit. The girls ate fast, too fast, revealing hunger that had bitten them for days. The mother, however, ate slowly, regal even in exhaustion. "You said the White River men attacked you," Calder said. "Did they follow?" Both daughters stiffened. Calder's instincts sharpened, danger wasn't just near, it was inevitable. "They want us," the elder daughter said quietly. "They think capturing us will prove power. And they hate our people." The younger added, one of them said, "The cowboy in black won't save you." Calder's eyes darkened. He wore black for a reason, it kept the world out. "If they're coming," he said, "you shouldn't stay long." The twins lowered their heads as the hope in their eyes flickered. But the old woman simply watched him without fear. "Leaving now means death," she said. "Staying means danger, for all of us. Yet I knocked on your door. Do you understand?" He did. She wasn't asking for shelter. She was asking for protection. And Calder Hayes, despite every wound in his heart, had never turned away from someone who had nowhere else to go. He sighed deeply. "You can stay tonight," he said. "In the morning, I'll plan a way to get you out safely." The younger girl whispered, "Thank you." The elder sister added, "We owe you our lives." But the old woman leaned closer, her gray braids hanging like frozen rivers, and said, "Cowboy, this path you choose tonight will change more than lives. It will change your fate." Calder felt a chill run through him, because he believed her. As the fire crackled, the twins rested on a woven rug, leaning on each other, drifting into sleep for the first time in days. The mother sat upright, silent and awake, as guardians of old tribes always did. Calder stood by the door, watching the dark plains beyond his porch. Snow moved like ghosts. Wolves howled in the far valley. And somewhere out there, riders were coming. He tightened his grip on the revolver. "If trouble follows," he whispered, "I'll be ready." Behind him, the old woman finally closed her eyes and murmured, "Then perhaps, our spirits chose the right door." And with that, the long night began, a night that would change the lives of the cowboy, the mother, and the daughters forever. Dawn crawled slowly across the frozen plains, turning the sky pale blue as the fire in Calder Hay's cabin dimmed into glowing embers, but sleep never touched him, not even for a minute. While the twins and their mother rested, he stood guard at the door, watching the horizon like a man expecting death to appear over the ridge. And death did appear, in the form of 6 riders approaching in the distance, dark silhouettes slicing through the white landscape. Calder's jaw clenched. The White River men weren't subtle, they carried trouble like dust on their boots. He stepped back inside, boots crunching on the wooden floor. The older Apache daughter, Ayanna, was already awake, her eyes sharp like a hawk's, as if she had sensed the same danger he did. Her twin, Tallulah, rose next, rubbing sleep from her eyes. The old woman lifted her head, calm yet unyielding, and in a voice steady as stone said, "They have come for us." Calder checked his revolver, loaded each bullet with practiced precision, and said, "Stay inside. No matter what happens." Ayanna stepped forward. "We can fight." Tallulah nodded. "We're not helpless." Their mother shook her head. "A warrior protects. But today, you must let the cowboy protect." Calder swallowed hard as he returned to the porch, closing the door behind him with a quiet but final thud. The riders slowed as they neared, snow swirling around their horses' legs. Their leader, a broad-shouldered brute with a scar across his cheek, grinned when he saw Calder standing alone. "Hayes," he called, "you've got something that belongs to us." Calder didn't blink. "They're not property." The men laughed, a sound twisted with cruelty. "Everything on this land is property if you're strong enough to claim it." He pointed his glove toward the cabin. "Move aside." Calder stepped forward instead. "You'll leave. Now." The men exchanged amused glances. "You gonna fight all of us?" Calder tilted his head slightly. "Guess we're about to find out." The tension snapped like a whip. The leader drew first, but Calder was faster, his revolver cracked loudly in the cold air, a bullet slamming into the snow inches from the man's boot. "Next shot," Calder warned, "won't miss." The leader's smile vanished. "Boys," he snarled, "teach him a lesson." 4 riders dismounted. Calder backed toward the cabin, heart pounding but hands steady. He had been outnumbered before. He had survived worse. But this time, he wasn't fighting for himself. He was fighting for the 3 souls behind his door. The first man lunged. Calder punched him hard enough to send him sprawling. Another rushed with a knife, Calder blocked with his forearm, elbowed him in the jaw, and knocked him flat. But the third wrapped an arm around Calder's throat from behind. Calder struggled as the leader rode closer, grinning. "You should have stayed silent like always," the men hissed. Calder's vision blurred. Snow crunched. Then, a sharp cry split the air, followed by a thud. Tallulah stood behind the attacker, clutching a thick wooden staff, her chest rising and falling with fierce determination. Ayanna grabbed Calder's arm. "Get up, we fight together." The leader's eyes widened with fury. "Grab them," he roared. Chaos erupted. The twins fought like wild spirits, swift, coordinated, fearless. Calder joined them, punching, blocking, kicking, his body moving with purpose he thought he had lost long ago. Yet the White River men were vicious. One swung the butt of his rifle into Ayanna's shoulder, knocking her to the ground. Tallulah screamed, rushing to help, but the leader seized her by the hair, yanking her back. "Pretty thing," he sneered. "You should have stayed quiet." Calder saw red. He charged forward with the force of a storm, slamming the men to the snow, fists raining down with the rage of a man protecting more than life, protecting honor, justice, and a family he never expected to have. The leader rolled away, reaching for his gun, bang. The shot froze everyone. The old Apache woman stood in the cabin doorway, holding Calder's rifle steady as smoke curled from the barrel. The bullet had hit the ground beside the leader's hand, her warning shot. Her voice carried across the plains like ancient thunder, "No more blood." The White River men hesitated. The leader glared at her, then at Calder, then at the twins. He spat into the snow. "This isn't over." He mounted his horse and rode off. The others followed. Silence returned to the plains, broken only by the wind. Calder exhaled shakily, leaning on the porch railing. The twins hurried to his side. "Are you hurt?" Ayanna asked. "Just bruised," he said. Tallulah smiled slightly. "Bruised, but alive." The old woman approached, her blanket swinging softly. "You stood between the wolf and the storm," she said to Calder. "Why?" Calder looked at each of them, the twins, strong and brave, the mother, ancient and wise, and then beyond them, to the empty cabin that had felt dead for so long. "Because no one gave me shelter when I needed it," he whispered. "But you knocked anyway. And maybe I needed someone to knock." The old woman's eyes softened. "Then hear my words, cowboy. Today you are no longer alone." Ayanna touched his arm gently. "We don't want to leave." Tallulah stepped closer. "Not after what you did for us." Calder felt something shift inside him, something warm, alive, hopeful. "Then stay," he said quietly. "Stay as long as you need. This home is yours too." For the first time in years, the cabin felt full of breath, of warmth, of purpose. As the fire crackled inside and snow fell peacefully outside, Calder realized something powerful. Protecting them had healed something in him that he thought would never recover. And in the glow of that moment, the old woman whispered a blessing in Apache, soft, ancient, sacred, closing the wound of the past and opening the path to a shared future. Viewers, if you want more powerful Wild West stories like this, make sure to like, subscribe, and hit the bell icon so you never miss the next tale.